Hi, this is Welcome to Self, and I'm your host, Dr Hayley D. Quinn, fellow human, business owner, and coach for women like you who want to increase your own self-care and self-compassion, change the relationship you have with yourself and your business, and elevate your business to a new level so you can live the full and meaningful life you desire. Welcome to Self is a podcast for women business owners. It is a place where you can come and learn about the practices that will assist you as a business owner, get tips on how to engage in your business in a way that is sustainable for you. Realise that you're not alone in the ways that you struggle, and have your curiosity piqued on various topics as I chat to wonderful guests and bring you solo episodes. This is a place to remember that you are human first and have different tasks in your business and different roles in your life that need your attention, and for that you need to take care of yourself in the best way you can. This is a place of nourishment, growth, and helpful information. A place where you can learn ways to assist you and your business to thrive. Hi, and welcome to another episode. If you're new here, welcome. Please subscribe and follow along, and also check out the earlier episodes. There's a lot of great wisdom being shared. If you've been around a while, thanks for all your support. I really appreciate it. If you'd head over and leave a 5-star rating and review, that would mean the world to me, and also help my little pod get into the ears of more folks. I've had the pleasure of being on the podcast of my next guest twice, and also to work with her in her group coaching program. She's an impressive and remarkable woman, and I think you're going to get a lot out of this episode. I'm really excited to bring you my next guest, Dr Hayley Kelly. Hayley is a clinical psychologist, ICF certified coach, and the CEO and founder of Therapists Rising. Hayley is on a mission to disrupt and revolutionise the mental health care system. She and her team at Therapists Rising support therapists to build sustainable and future-proofed business through the creation of signature programs so that they can impact more people while building financial freedom. Through innovative mentorship and programs, Hayley is reshaping the landscape of mental health care, fostering a transformative community of empowered therapists who challenge conventions and fearlessly pursue their visions. In this episode, we talk about different aspects of running a business, including Hayley sharing about her passion that led her to starting her own coaching business, and key factors for people who want to start and successfully run their own business. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed chatting with Hayley, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Hayley to the podcast. So, hey, Hayley, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. It's a bit like the Hayley show today, really, isn't it?
It's going to be confusing.
A little bit.
It'll be like B1 and B2, but H1 and H2.
So can you start with, for people who don't know you, please tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to the business that you're now in?
Great question. And yes, I would be delighted. Firstly, thank you for having me. This feels like a very huge honor and privilege to be sitting with you in this space and having a conversation. So thank you, first and foremost. So I'm Dr. Hayley Kelly, and I am a clinical psychologist, and I'm also the CEO and founder of Therapists Rising. And we are on a mission to disrupt and revolutionize the mental health care system. And we do that by helping and supporting therapists to build future-proof, sustainable businesses, primarily and as a first point through the creation of signature programs.
Fantastic. So you run your own business helping therapists expand outside of the one-on-one of therapy work. Can you share with us why you're so passionate about that?
Yeah, I think it comes from my own direct experience, as so many of the things I think that we do in life are so heavily informed and I think painted on the canvas of our life. And I've had direct experience of how harmful the system can be, both as a consumer of mental health services and also as part of the workforce. And I think my experience has led to a deep sense of disillusionment and burnout. And at that point in time, I felt like my only option, and of course, I had all of those stories around like, I'm a bad therapist and this is a me thing, and other people don't struggle with the work the way that I do. And I felt like my only option at that point in time was to completely step away.
Yeah,
And I think we hear that all the time, right? When we talk to our
absolutely.
colleagues and our peers, that idea of like, I'm just going to go and open a cafe or run an
Yeah.
Airbnb or
Become a
whatever it might
florist.
be. Exactly. There seem to be some favorites as like the escape routes for people. But I think I felt like that at that point in time. There is no other option for me other than to completely remove myself from the
Mm,
system. And it was deeply distressing, I think,
yeah,
as well, as I've reflected on this journey more and more. Um, it was distressing to sit in the fact that I hold the value of service and impact so deeply. It's such a core value for me to leave the world a better place
yeah,
than when I got here. And the expression of that being through the practice of mental health care, it was distressing to know that the system that I had devoted my life to in the service of others was the same system that was hurting me.
yeah,
That felt deeply distressing. And I'd also had experiences that parallel that as a consumer. So I'm a neurodivergent therapist,
yeah,
and the traditional format of therapy did not serve me well. And in fact, there were lots of times where I can absolutely say that I was harmed by the traditional practice of therapy.
yeah,
So I think that stepping away, because I did step away, I stepped into coaching, um, and which is like an adjacent, I guess, place to sit. But nonetheless, I sat there for a little while and had that realization of, oh my God, like the skills that I have are incredibly transferable.
yeah,
The skills that I have are not only transferable, but they are highly in demand in the broader market.
yeah,
I just need to figure out a way to use what I've got. Like I don't have to start again. I don't have to completely abandon my history and my experience. I can find a way to make this work. And I did.
yeah,
And it was really successful. And I had an amazing time coaching. But people started to ask me, friends, peers, colleagues started to say, how are you doing this? How are you building a coaching business? Tell me the secrets. And I eventually got sick of it
yeah,
and thought, okay, I'm getting the message that this is maybe the next step in my evolution. And so the, for me, it was about coming back to serve again internally and
yeah,
finding a way to help my friends, my peers, my colleagues, the system consumers to innovate and revolutionize the system of mental health care for the better for everyone.
yeah,
But my heart lies with the workforce, with my friends.
yeah,
And how can I contribute back to the way that they experience their career in a sustainable longevity sense and a well-being sense as well?
yeah, yeah. Gosh, I mean, you and I are on the same page with that for sure. So this really came about, and for myself as well, and for many, many people, like you say, from this quite confronting experience of I can't keep doing this as a psychologist the way that it's meant to be done in the
Yeah.
system that we work in. And then, like you say, you've kind of built this business because people were saying, I see you doing this thing. I want to know how to do this thing as well. And then you've created this wonderful container for therapists in your Therapist Rising company. It's absolutely wonderful. So, if you were starting your business from scratch tomorrow, knowing all that you know now, because I think there's lots of people that do want to kind of, whether they're therapists or not, where they want to make changes, do things so that they can have more sustainable ways of being in business. But a lot of the time, people are scared, aren't they, to make a change? It's almost better the devil you know, stick with what's familiar, even though I know it's harming me, or that it's not suiting my lifestyle, or perhaps my season of life has changed, but there's
Mm.
fear to move forward. So if you were doing it all again tomorrow, what do you think you'd do differently and what would you keep the same?
In the grand scheme of things, I would change nothing,
Yeah.
um, because I know that that's the path that I had to walk to learn the lessons that I
Yeah.
needed to learn, and the lessons were the things that got me here. So in that sense, I wouldn't change anything,
Mhm.
and I deeply appreciate past versions of me and the struggle that she went through and the choices that she made with the information that she had available because she did the best she could. And I
Yeah.
truly believe that.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would change anything that she did in the grand scheme of things. However, some of the fundamental lessons that I've learned, if I went now and started another business,
Yeah.
there are things that I would do differently now. I wouldn't go back and change anything, but from this vantage point going forward, there are definitely really powerful lessons that I've learned, both as a therapist, as a business owner, and as a human being
Yeah.
that I would carry into whatever that venture was. And I think one of those things is, and probably the most important, is to get over myself.
Yeah.
And I think this traverses this traverses all three of the aspects of, who I am as a person, not in their entirety, but um, like when I sort of think about how long it took me and how many bumps on the head I had to get from other therapists asking me, can you tell me how you're doing this? Can you provide supervision? Or like, is there something that you can give me? Like the amount of clues that the universe had to send my
Mhm.
way of like, maybe this is the next career move. Maybe you should think about turning this into something that makes you some cash. It took me far longer
Yeah.
than I probably now feel comfortable with to recognize that that was the next step in evolution in my career. And I think that there was a lot of um, self doubt that played into that, the imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
which interestingly didn't play as much of a part when I stepped into coaching. I felt a lot more confident stepping into coaching than I did stepping back.
Mm.
And I think it's, the fear of judgment. We
Yeah.
can be exceptionally harsh on each other internally against each other. So I was really scared to bring what I had learned about marketing and business and offer creation and all of these really important skills that I had. I was terrified to bring them back. And because I think people are starting to change, but no one really talks like I do.
Yeah.
As openly about the things that I talk about when it comes to sales and marketing and
Yeah.
money. There aren't many people in our space, especially not a few years ago, who were talking like that. And so it was really powerfully confronting. So I think that first lesson of like, get over yourself and just do the thing
Yeah.
is probably one of the most powerful lessons.
Yeah, step out your own way, hey? And I think, you're in an industry, or had been and then came back to an industry where sales and marketing really isn't something that's talked about, it isn't taught. And I guess in any type of business, there's areas that just don't kind of fit the status quo of the business you're in. So when you kind of come in and start disrupting that, or being a bit of a change maker, leading from the front, it does bring up the fear, doesn't it? It does bring up that fear of judgment, or the sense of, who am I to be in here talking about this? What are people going to think? So good on
Mhm.
you for actually noticing that and being with that, but still moving forward, because what you offer to people is just so valuable.
Thank you. And I think the most important lesson that comes from that fear and coming out the other side of it is knowing that the judgment is not only part and parcel of life. Like people are going to judge you
Anyway.
no matter what. Like it's not
Yeah.
just internally in our industry. Like it's being a mum, it's being a woman. Like you're going to face judgment everywhere. So judgment is not an optional part of life. Like you
Yeah.
can't tick the box and opt out of judgment.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And in actual fact, I've changed my relationship a lot with judgment in the sense that where I was once really scared and hesitant to be in its presence, I now relish its presence. And I think the way that my relationship has changed with it is that I see it as an indicator of impact,
Yeah.
an indicator of being visible, an indicator of using my voice, and an indicator of standing for the things that I truly believe in. And when you sort of think about the people of history who have made the biggest impact on the world, they haven't been the same as everyone else. They've
Yeah.
had a mission, a message that has gone against the grain,
Yeah.
that has been different from others. And I'm not saying that I'm going to go down in the history books of life or anything. I'm definitely not saying that. But I think the lesson is, if you want to make a big difference and if you want to stand for change and
Yeah.
improvement, then you've got to have an opinion that other people are probably going to judge because it's different from what most other people are saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, change only comes when we make change, right? So if it's the
Exactly.
same as what everybody's doing and the same as everything else, then nothing is ever going to change.
Ever. And so we
Absolutely.
have to be willing to risk it for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think are the key factors for people who want to start and successfully run their own business?
It's a great question. A, get over yourself. It's
Yeah,
probably the
just keep getting out your own way.
I think that's definitely the case. I think to run a business, we need to understand that while the business is an expression of us in terms of our interests, things that we do well, maybe some of the weaknesses that we have, the business is like a physical expression born into reality of us, of our vision, but it's not us.
Yeah,
And I think this is a really powerful lesson that every single business owner needs to, or hopefully should, traverse the landscape of. Your business is not you.
yeah,
It doesn't represent your worth. It doesn't reflect anything about you. And I think the more that we can depersonalize business, especially for us in the helping industries, the heart centered people, the people with big missions where their mission is like super close to their heart and their
yeah,
soul, the more you can depersonalize the vehicle, which is business, like the business is literally the car you get in to deliver on mission, the more that you can make that less about you and more about it being a set of problems to solve, data to interpret,
yeah,
decisions to make, then it becomes an easier place for us to emotionally hold the bigness of both the vision and also business, the vehicle.
yeah. I can imagine might be people listening to that and thinking, but if I take myself out of the business, if it's not about me and what I want for my customers and clients, and it's all about data, then doesn't that make it sort of not what I want it to be? What would you say to that?
Hell to the no. It just means that it's going to be the best, most capable vehicle of getting you there.
Yeah,
And where I think we should be tying ourselves to, instead of the business, it's the mission, it's the purpose, it's the
yeah,
why,
yeah,
right? So if we can tie ourselves fundamentally to, what am I here to achieve? What am I here to do? Who am I here to serve? And how am I going to change their life or make it better for them?
yeah,
And that's what business does, right? We deliver a service that hopefully makes people's lives better. Hopefully. But if we're all wrapped up in the car, the vehicle being like reflective of our own worthiness,
yeah,
it's going to go nowhere. It's going to end up in a dumpster fire, because everything that happens, we're going to interpret as personal. So if we get a rejection from a customer, if we get a refund request, if we have a bad launch, if we can't hit revenue goals, instead of those things being data to interpret and then improve upon, they become a reflection of us and our capacity and our worth,
yeah,
which they're not. But when they are tied to those things, business becomes exceptionally hard to grow, to scale, to manage.
Yeah, and I think, I would imagine those are the times then as well when it does become harder, when we are saying that each point of business is so crucial and critical to me and my worth and what people will think of me. One, you're absolutely setting yourself up for burnout. And two, you're far likely to turn around and go, why am I even doing this? I don't want to do this. This isn't fun. It's not enjoyable. And I think, like you say, your why, and as you say, your mission is the thing that is personal. What I
Mm,
want for the people I serve is X, Y, Z. How I'm going to do that, in essence, doesn't matter as
doesn't
long
matter.
as I actually get them there. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you fluid and adaptable, right? Like
Yeah.
when we detach ourselves from the vehicle, from the business,
Yeah.
it means we're open to being proven wrong, right? So let's just say I create this business because I feel like that's the way that I'm going to be able to deliver on the mission.
Yeah.
But then a couple of steps down the track, you go, oh, hang on a second. There's a better option available for this. Like
Mm.
I can improve on this in this way, and it's going to like only just increase my capacity to get there.
Yeah.
If we're all up in it, and it's all up in us, we can't see those decisions clearly. We're going to be attached to the vehicle
Yeah.
as being the one right and only way of getting where we need to go.
Yeah.
And there's a Lamborghini driving past, we're in an old Volvo. Like, we've got to be able to recognize that sometimes the way that our business looks right now isn't the best way to get there. But if we're personalizing it, it's really hard to see that.
Yeah. And again, really hard to listen to what your clients are asking of you. Really hard to listen to what people are saying, "This would help me." It's like, "Well, that might help you, but I wanna do it my way, and this is the way I'm gonna do it because I've worked for so long perfecting this way." And it's like, nobody wants it that way.
Exactly. And then you wonder why you're not making any revenue because you're not listening. You're not seeing the vehicle as adaptable, as being able to move and transform as your knowledge, as your progress dictates.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things from my perspective is that when we're in business is to have it be enjoyable so that we're not getting caught up in the things that are difficult. Let's face it, being in business, whether that's a solo business, whether that's running a company with lots of employees, it's hard. And there's times it's really hard. So for me, I always like to think about, okay, how do I want to do that so it's fun and it's enjoyable and I can reflect on those fun and enjoyable times when things are challenging so I can actually keep going. So I'm interested to know, what do you enjoy most about your work and working for yourself? And what do you find most challenging? And then how do you actually manage the challenging times?
A great question. I feel like the thing that I love is also the double-edged sword. It turns into the thing that I hate at the same time. And I think being neurodivergent, I have a lot of traits and tendencies that lend themselves really well to entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
So, my ability to think outside of the box, my ability to look at data, my ability to question the status quo, my ability to take risks
Yeah,
and do things differently, impulsivity, all of those things I think lend themselves beautifully to entrepreneurship. But at the same time, my ADHD is probably one of the things that tends to get in the way as well. So things like time management and knowing how long a task is going to take
yeah,
and running late for things, not being able to use project management, and not having enough support to buffer some of the executive functioning deficits that I experience.
yeah,
That's the stuff that then tends to make it painful.
yeah, yeah,
And I think there'll either be people listening, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I hear that.
yeah, absolutely. So how important do you find having a support system around you whilst running your business? What do you think is most helpful about this? You kind of mentioned you don't always have the right amount of support. So
Mm.
what would you do differently there?
Yeah, I think, again, business, I think the reality of business is that it is a constantly evolving process. And there is this constant interplay between finding the problems and solving it, but having limited resources based on the level that you're at.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's this always this tension between growth and resources available. Like I feel like that is the constant tension, whether it's
Yeah.
we need more staff because we just had an explosion in student enrollments, but now we don't have enough staff to deliver it. So I'm having to
Yeah.
do all of the customer service and manage a Facebook group and do all of these things. Or whether it's capital, like we need to invest in either staff, people,
Yeah.
or systems, or whatever it's going to be to get to the next level. But we're not yet at that capital.
Yeah.
We're not at that revenue yet, and there's always that constant juggling of
Mm.
the next step with a lag in resources. I feel like. And I think for me, that's the really frustrating part because I can see so clearly where we're going to go. And I don't deal overly well with the frustration of being confined by the reality of where we are.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm already at like a $5 million business operating with the resources of, just under 1 million. So it's like, well, how do we actually behave and perform like a $5 million
Yeah.
business if we're still running on the resources of a business that isn't even at 1 million yet?
Yeah. It's so tricky, isn't it? Because then if you had the extra staff, you'd free yourself up to do the things that would move you to the next level of your business. But like you say, it is that constant tension.
Absolutely.
So in terms of sort of having support around you, not necessarily as in staff or
Mm,
systems, but actually a support system where you can kind of be like, this is so frustrating, or this is so difficult, or yay, I had a win, because I'm a big believer in we need to have people who will support us not only in the times that we're finding challenging, but having people around us that will cheerlead and be really excited when we do something. Because I think in a lot of areas in society, unfortunately, people are happy to support you when you're down, not necessarily so happy to be there to lift you up and cheer you on and put you out front when you're doing really well, which I think is quite sad. And for me, I think finding people who do that can be really, really important. What are your thoughts on that?
oh, totally. I mean, there's a reason why the proverbial saying is misery loves company, right? Like,
Mm,
I think there's a part of the human condition, and there's a part of not just the human condition, but there's a part of our cultural experience and social expectations that dictate that we're much more comfortable being in the misery
yeah,
um, than we are in celebrating people's wins because
yeah,
it sparks jealousy and envy and
yeah,
all of those really uncomfortable things. So I definitely agree with you. And what I would say about support from like a non-hiring perspective, like the supports that I have in place to help me through this journey has been game changing. Like without them, it, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here without a network of people around me who get the experience that I'm going through,
yeah,
who we can have those deep conversations and they truly get it. It's not just at face value where you're like, sounds really interesting, but can actually sit in the messy middle of business with you and can not only go, oh my God, yes, I get it, because I'm either going through it or I have been through it, but can then offer suggestions and
yeah,
advice and different perspectives. So having a mentor, and I've got a number of different mentors, all at different stages of their own business journey.
yeah,
And I've got an army of entrepreneur friends and peers who are the backbone of how I can do what I do, as well as my husband. The one thing that I find challenging, and I've only probably recently become aware of this, is that the further along the mentor is in their journey. So, for example, I have a mentor who is an incredibly successful businessman, sold a company for 40 million in another startup now, has accumulated massive amounts of wealth and success.
Yeah.
And sometimes there is a large disconnect when that person is further along in their journey because
Yeah.
there's distance between when they were the version
Yeah.
of me, right? And so sometimes it's really important when you're either looking at someone who's further along and you're like, I want to be that person. I've just got to start doing the things that they're doing, which
Yeah.
is the advice that we hear out in the big wide world, right? Like
Yeah.
find a mentor and just do what they do. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Success leaves clues. But sometimes the clues that we're trying
Yeah.
to instill in our own business, we haven't taken the journey for those clues to actually fit right now. And we
Yeah.
try to squeeze them in and do too much. And I've got to have 400,000 videos of, X, Y, and Z. So I've got enough content. I think that's really important to remember. Like you've got to get
Yeah.
a really good crew of different stages, take their advice, but you've still got to filter it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think sometimes it's like you're taking advice for a stage that you're just not at.
It's like
Part of the
kindergarten talking to a year 12er going, studying for the HSC.
absolutely,
Like it's just not going to be
absolutely.
helpful.
Yeah, part of the program that I run, I have a section in that that is literally called "Start Where You Are At." And it's so important that we recognize that, isn't it? And yes, we can still seek advice and wisdom from people further down the track, but we have to be where we are. We can't jump 10 steps ahead and think, oh, well, I'll just do these things and it'll work. I was having a
Absolutely.
conversation actually with my husband the other day about when you're training other people, whether that's bringing on staff or you're doing workshops or whatever, we have to start with beginner's mind. We have to remember what it was like to actually not know all the things we know now, which can be really hard, right?
Definitely. Like I think when we're at the level, when we operate at the level that we're at in that moment, the distance between us and the past version of ourselves in every facet of the past version of ourselves,
Yeah.
whether it's skills, mindset, whatever, I think we vastly underestimate the distance between those two things.
Yeah.
And we forget how hard it was. We
Yeah.
forget the things that we didn't know because now it just feels like second nature because we've
Yeah.
stepped into being unconsciously competent
Yeah.
at the thing that we do. And so we no longer have to think about it. It's like playing the piano and you're up on a symphony stage playing the piano. You're not sitting there like
Yeah.
twisting every key and looking back at this, the chords. And we don't do that because we're unconsciously competent at
Yeah.
that thing. And the person we're sitting with is usually either unconsciously incompetent, so they don't know what they don't know, or they're consciously incompetent. They're like, oh, there's so much I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing here. Tell me, tell me. And then you just overwhelm them with stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you make some really good points. I think it speaks to having a range of people in your support system as well, isn't it? People who are
Yeah.
at the same level as you, people who've done more than you, people who are not even doing what you're doing. So you can talk about something that is not business, and just go out and
Are
have
there
fun.
other
And then,
are there other conversations apart from business?
well, it
'Cause
can
I've
feel
had
like
that.
that, can't it? It's like, oh, maybe I should just talk about something that's non-business related with people that don't care about running businesses.
I don't enjoy those people very much. But
It's
yes, you're
hard.
absolutely right.
It's tricky though, isn't it? It's yeah. So this is a question that I ask all my guests, and I'm always very curious as to the answer for this one. If you could meet your 80-year-old self, what do you think she would say to you?
I think given that I'm at a point right now, so if she stepped back into my life right now,
Yeah.
and given that I'm going through a massive growth edge, both in terms of like business and self, there have been lots of moments over the last couple of months where I've had that thought of like, screw this, like it's too hard. Why am I doing this? It would be easier to just not,
Yeah.
right? Um, and I think she would probably step in and compassionately encourage me to stay the course because I've been here before, whether it's been in business or whether it was on my journey to play for Australia in touch football or becoming a therapist.
Yeah.
These moments of like, it feels so painful to be going through this up level, especially when we don't necessarily recognize it as an up level until after the fact.
Yeah.
Like we can look back and we go, oh, that was a total up level. But while you're in it, it just feels freaking horrible.
Yeah.
And so I think she would compassionately kick me in the bum and say, keep going. Like now's not the time to stop. This is temporary.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. She's there on the sideline cheering you on
Kicking me in
and
the butt.
and reminding you that you've been through similar. Yeah, you've not been through this before. You've never been this version of yourself before, but you've been through things like this before. And I guess my question to you is when you've faced things like this before and it's felt so painful and you've wanted to give up and you haven't, have you been glad you didn't?
I think that can be, there's two different versions of that. I think for the things that were truly worth sticking at,
Yeah.
then 100%, right? Like, I think it's the case that when I'm values aligned, when I'm mission, purpose, and why aligned,
Yeah.
then it helps me to decipher like, what am I doing right now? And is it going to be a good return on investment to stay or is it time to move? Like, is it time to pivot?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with changing course,
Absolutely.
right? Sometimes pain can be growth, but sometimes pain can be an indicator to move,
Yeah. Yeah.
go somewhere else. And I think we have to be really discerning about which of those this time is. And sometimes we need support to do that through mentorship or coaching or therapy, even. But when I have stayed the course and it has been for my highest good, it's just more it's just more identity capital for me. Like it's always that sort of moment of, how they use the analogy of like escape velocity, when they're talking about, I used to be obsessed with all things space and astronomy, was a spin I went through during my adolescence. And there's this notion that in order to get out of the Earth's atmosphere, a rocket has to expend incredible amounts of energy and withstand incredible amounts of pressure
Yeah.
to break free of the thing that's going to hold them here, which is gravity, right?
Yeah.
And I think we as human beings have gravity, which is our current self,
Yeah.
our current context, current beliefs, our current capacity. All of those things act like gravity to a rocket.
Mm.
And when we're moving towards that next up level for us, it can feel as hard as a rocket works to get out of Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
But once it escapes the atmosphere, so once it's punched through that and gravity's no longer holding it, everything just becomes light. They turn the thrusters off,
Yeah.
they're cruising now. And although they're still cruising at great speeds, it's easeful.
Yeah.
There's a sense of flow. And so I think that that's often the feeling that I have after a huge up level
Yeah.
is it's really hard to escape gravity. But once I'm out the other side, that feeling of being in space at that next level, it
Yeah.
feels like flow. It feels like this is just the new normal.
Yeah.
And it doesn't require a whole lot of effort to be here.
Yeah. Sounds like a sense of freedom as you're talking about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I get that visceral sense of like, whoa, like
Yeah.
this big shedding that comes with an up level. And when we stay the course, and that's the course that we're supposed to be on, I feel it does come with a sense of relief in flow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely. And I love that you talk about, when we align with our values, when that pressure's on and it's like, okay, this is feeling really hard. Is this feeling really hard because actually I'm on the complete wrong path? Or is this feeling hard because it's meaningful and worthwhile for me? When we connect with our values, when we connect back to the why am I doing this, that really helps us, doesn't it? I mean, that's like the signpost along the way to help us decide
100%.
is this worth persevering? Is this a time to grit or time to quit kind of situation?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that the really important thing to remember as human beings is there are very, very few mistakes that you
Mm,
can make or choices that you can make along life's journey that are forever decisions. Apart from death,
absolutely. Yeah.
there are very few forever decisions when it
Yeah.
comes to life. So there's not even the pressure of like, you have to get this question.
Yeah.
Is it grit or is it quit? You
Yeah.
don't even have to get this right. Like
No.
there's there are always opportunities to course correct, right? So
Yeah.
if you go, yes, this is worth it, and then the next moment you're like, I was so wrong.
Yeah.
Like I should have given up 2 steps ago. Well, guess what? You get another turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
There will always be opportunities to course correct. Always. And so
Absolutely.
we don't need to make the right decision and go into analysis paralysis or perfection.
Yeah.
There'll be another opportunity.
Which can be so hard for people, right? I came up with a little quote for myself that I remind myself all the time of, the thing I love most about choices is you can always make another one.
Exactly.
And it's that
It's like a
thing, isn't it?
buffet. They never
Yeah.
run out.
Yeah. Fantastic. So if people want to find out more about you, Hayley, or get in touch and engage with you and your work, what's the best way that people can do that?
I would love that. So I'm over on the gram, which is at Dr. Hayley Kelly. I'm also over on the website, which is therapistrising.com. And we've got a podcast by the same name. So Therapist Rising Podcast.
Yeah, wonderful podcast. And if you could distill it down into one piece of advice, what would you really want our listeners to take away from our conversation today?
Yeah, it's such a good question, isn't it? I think this is what I try to live my own life by. And integrity is really important to me. So I try to do the things that I also advise others to do. And I think the thing that I feel like I'm here to do, although I'm here to fulfill on a mission, I can't do that unless I am stepping into my highest potential. Like find the truth of who I am, find the truth of why I'm here, find the truth of my highest good and do everything that I can to get the crap out of the way, whether that's me or external things,
Mm,
to be able to do that. And I think that's everyone's modus operandi when it comes to life, right? It's the journey of self discovery
yeah,
while in service of the world, right? Because I do believe that there is a constant dichotomy, and yes, we've moved into a more individualized way of living, but it doesn't change the nature of the human experience.
yeah,
And I believe that we are here to find out who we are so that we can serve the world in the most powerful way that we can. So, my one piece of advice is do the work,
yeah.
find out who you are, find out your values, find out the mission, the purpose, the vision. And that may change, right? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
even the vision and mission changes as you move through the vision and mission. But find those things and allow them to magnetize you forward instead of trying to push away from crap and who you are or were. Use those things, your highest potential, the vision, to magnetize you forward. That's my advice.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. Just get to know yourself really, really well, and
And
then go
change the
out and
damn world.
do, and then change the world. Oh, Hayley, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'll put all the links in the show notes for people who want to connect with you and find out more. Thank you again for being with me today. It's an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you. I deeply appreciate you.
Thank you for sharing this time with me today. I hope your time here was helpful and supportive. If there has been something in this episode that you found helpful, I invite you to share it with another person you think might benefit. If you've benefited in any way from the podcast, please do me a favour and show my pod some love by giving it a 5-star rating and review. Ratings, reviews and shares really help to increase awareness and reach of the podcast, meaning I can spread helpful information more widely. All reviews are welcome and much appreciated, as I know they take time out of your day. If you'd like to be notified when the next episode airs, please use the link in the show notes to join my mailing list. If you have any particular topics you'd like to learn more about, or guests you'd like to hear from, please reach out and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Music and editing by Nissa Ray. Thanks, Nissa. I wish you all well in your relationship with yourself and your business, and may you go well and go gently.